Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Food is an important aspect in everyone's life. We eat to survive, to celebrate, to bond, and to hang out. La-toya Fagon is a French-trained chef and worked at restaurants and hotels in Europe and Mexico. She started Twist Catering as a side business in 2009. She is a Restaurants Canada ambassador. She won the City MOGULS 2019 Top Entrepreneur and was a personal chef to the Toronto Raptors 2019 champions. La-toya was also the only woman-owned hospitality partner during TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, providing all the catering for the filmmakers, lounge, media, and the rising stars. Today, I'm joined by La-toya Fagon, who's an executive chef, a celebrity chef, and owner of Twist Catering Services. La-toya, welcome to Empowered.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to have you on the show today. You know, chefs are typically male dominated. How and why did you become a chef?
I absolutely love food. I think a big catalyst for me was just growing up, like when I was in. I originally had gone to school for like advertising and public relations, and my mom had gotten a job and she was going to the States for about a year, and so it was just me and my dad and my brothers at home. My dad cooked like two things, you know, like he'd cook other things, but it was kind of like getting repetitive for a bit. So like, oh, I'll take like a night class here and there at George Brown.
Yep.
And then I really liked it. And then, yeah, I just went full throttle with it. And here we are.
Okay, so here we are with the chef. Can you share a bit about your background and what inspired you to start your own business?
So, you know what? I had worked in, again, several different places. As I said, I did my culinary arts at George Brown, staged around the city for a little bit. Then I got really good opportunities to go to Mexico, and then I went to Europe for a little bit, in the Caribbean for a bit. Always loved Toronto, always came back home. And I got a really good job with a very large retailer, grocery store retailer, probably one of the largest in the country. And I was running their cooking schools for a long time. But I just didn't see that there was going to be any growth. There was only like a certain ceiling that you were going to hit. So I just thought it was time. I'm like, okay, you can go get another corporate job again because you have the security of that. But I was also just kind of tired of working for people. I was tired of being like told what to do, when to do, how to do it, whatnot. You know, I always kind of was, I have a very strong personality, a very strong force. So I think there was only so long I was going to play nicely on the playground. So I was like, let me create my own playground.
Well, you know what? I mean, creating your own playground. Okay, so you started your own business. You took off to Europe and you went to Mexico. I mean, those are gutsy moves. Becoming an entrepreneur is a gutsy move, but then picking up and going to these other places. What motivated you to enter the industry or niche that your business operates in?
Yeah, and again, I wasn't going to these places for a long time by any means. I think people might think that I like lived there for a long time or something. It wasn't like that. It was like couple months stints, couple weeks stints here and there, like just getting opportunities and going there and things like that of that nature. Mexico was probably my longest time, and I was there for a bit. But um, just getting into the niche of the whole concept of Twist was creating like my two favorite loves. Obviously, the first thing is Caribbean, mostly Jamaican food, and then Italian food. And I really like the two cultures because, again, the big like family meals and the, you know, the getting together and the breaking of bread, like the cultures were quite similar. And I just, those are two of my absolute favorite cuisines. So that's how the name Twist came about. Was I originally started combining similarities into the cuisines, how I can kind of bring them together.
You know, and I love that because if you look at Italian cuisine and Jamaican cuisine, they're like at two opposite ends of the spectrum. But when you really delve into it, as you said, they're very similar. It's all about family. It's all about breaking bread. It's all about hanging out and enjoying life to the fullest with food. And so
Right.
when we come back, I want to talk to you about you know, some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face as a female entrepreneur. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more of La-toya Fagon and find out more about Twist Catering and what challenges she faces. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. In today's episode, we're discussing being a Black female-owned business and keeping your passion. La-toya, you talked about Jamaican cuisine and Italian cuisine. Tell me more about that. Like, do they use any of the same spices or techniques or anything else?
Spices definitely not. Completely two different flavor profiles.
Yeah.
But when I say like the simplicities, I mean the simplicity of the ingredients. Like you can take Italian food, you can get the simplest stuff like a margarita pizza, or you get a really nice pomodoro sauce and just have a really good pasta noodle, or and put some fresh basil on that, and just very simple. Jamaican cuisine, if you have thyme and onion, and pepper, you can make a whole bunch of different cuisines. So it's just the simplicity, but a good, wholesome, stick to your bone kind of food.
I love the fact that you talked about the simplicity, because a lot of people think in order to be a great chef, you need to have, you need to throw in so many different things. But I love the fact that you talked about, no, they're two incredible cuisines, but extremely simple. And the ease of the simplicity just makes them spectacular. I want to move on to, some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a female entrepreneur, because all female entrepreneurs face something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes me laugh all the time because literally till this day, it happened to me. I won't say which major national publication we were doing, and somebody was there and they asked me where my boss was.
Ugh.
So I think that's one of the big things. Or the surprise, the physical surprise you could see in somebody's face when you're like, yeah, I have my own business, and they're like, oh, well, do you cook from home, or like, do you like have like a little brick and mortar? And I'm like, no, we actually have a pretty big venue. Our venue's almost 3,000 square feet. Like, yeah. They're like, oh, well, where are your partners? I'm like, nope, just me. I have
Good
an
for
amazing
you.
team though. I have an amazing team. God knows, like even today, I had major personal family crisis happening, and I could literally just make some phone calls and my team just did the order and stepped in, and so that's a big thing, having the right people around you. But the challenges are going to be a constant, I think, with any. We're just in a male dominated industry, but I think that is not a clutch. A crutch. I actually think it's empowerment, for lack of a better term. To use that and have that driving force, because it just keeps you on top of your game. It keeps you pushing for more. It keeps you in the circle, keeps you at the head of the table. So, or at least gets you a seat at the table,
Yeah.
which is all that we always continue to want in our careers, is
You
to
know,
just have a seat at the table.
absolutely, La-toya. And a good leader always surrounds themselves with really good people. You talked about how incredible your team is. And that's why you're so good at what you do, because you don't try to do it all. You've got a great team that helps you through. How have you overcome any of your obstacles or barriers in your journey as an entrepreneur, other than people asking those questions?
Yeah. I just keep faith. I've got on my side, and I believe in myself. I know that I'm good at what I do. I think I'm great at what I do. I have a passion for it. I have a drive for it, and you just have to keep moving. You got to block out the background noise, because opinions don't pay bills. Number one. Number two is you can't take criticism from people who aren't doing what you're doing.
Yep.
So that's a major thing. So I kind of look at who is giving me feedback and who is saying things, because then I could take it as constructive criticism, or I can take it as somebody who just has no idea what they're talking about, or somebody that I have to say, you know what, how about you stay in your lane and I'll continue to run ahead in mine.
So one of the questions I have for you is balance. I just had somebody on, we were talking about work-life balance. How do you balance your work and your personal life as a business owner?
I am the worst person to ask that question to.
Well, okay. Well, then you know what? What we'll do is we'll go to commercial break. And then when we come back, we'll start another topic so that
My work is my personal life. They kind of like intertwine. No, because I'll even have my family come to the kitchen and I'm like, I just gotta finish the job, go sit outside. I'll bring over some food and then we hang my girlfriends will come hang out at the kitchen.
All right,
After wine, we'll
Latoya,
bring a bottle.
hold on to
Yeah.
that thought. We will be right back. This was the best answer ever. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're discussing being a Black female-owned business and keeping your passion. Latoya, what advice would you give to other women who are aspiring entrepreneurs? Because this is not the job for everyone.
Definitely not. Like you, as I was saying to my girlfriend, you need to have a certain level of insanity, because you're talking about going out on a limb and hoping and praying that it works out, and that's literally the thought every single day. Because if you don't work, you don't eat. You know what I mean? Or if you're
Yeah.
not getting the jobs coming in, like you're not feeding your family, or you're keeping your roof over your head, or whatever it is that you're doing. So, passion, you have to ask yourself, and I'm sure you've heard this line a million times, would you still do this if you weren't getting paid? And I think that's the biggest thing, because when you have a passion for something
Yep.
and you put in positive energy and you just try and go, even when it rains, it's not going to rain every day. It will not rain every day. So just weather the storm and keep going forward. So yeah, you have to, it's a mindset. You can have the best product ever out there, but if you don't have the drive for it or the passion for it and motivation, and know those days where you're being kicked down to get back up, this life won't work for you.
So, how do you approach networking and building relationships in your industry? Because you've got to keep cooking, you've got to keep selling, you've got to keep being booked.
Absolutely. Like, relationships are huge, 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 huge. Um, when I first started this industry, it was very different as to how it is now. Now it's a lot easier with the world of social media. Let's
Yep.
just be honest. Before, I literally have to like find out where there would be, like, I don't know if people still do them, mixers or networking events and things like that, or where you'd like maybe talk to a friend who might have known a friend. Or sometimes I would just go to certain places where I knew were Toronto hotspots. And, this is when like Richmond Street and King Street and those places used to be the place to be, and like just kind of mix and mingle, like you met people through people. But now with social media, like I can like follow you, for instance, and I can
Yes.
send you a personal DM, and be like, hey, if you're interested, can we grab a coffee? If you can't, then hey, can we have a quick little video chat over, Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is. So yeah.
So, we talked about passion. I want to know, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay inspired during every day and then especially challenging times?
Number one thing is I'll never work for anybody ever again. That's, I think, my the biggest catalyst for me. And if I don't work, especially living in Canada right now, in the GTA, like it's we are in unprecedented times with the things of what costs and all that's like. So
Yeah.
you have to work. Like that's my passion is, make sure that you keep working, keep the lights on, keeping people employed because they depend on you as well. I have two elderly parents, making sure that they're okay. Um, and I like I actually genuinely like what I do. Like, even if I'm not in the kitchen, there's days where I'm in the office the entire time and I'm like, oh God, I just want to make sauce. Like, but I gotta go through like 20 emails and turn all these and do quotes and do the bookkeeping and but still I'm doing it on my time and my terms.
Yeah.
If I want to get into the kitchen at 6 a.m., cool. If I don't want to come to the kitchen till 8 p.m. and do other stuff in the day, no problem.
So, it's interesting. I have a few friends that are entrepreneurs, and they love what they do, but they hate the paperwork and the numbers and the number crunching and everything else. But if you're going to be your own boss, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and as you said, employ other people and take care of their livelihood, you need to do the stuff that you hate doing anyway.
Oh God, yeah. Nobody wants to look at numbers to see what you lost this week or what you maybe made this week, and but that's just part of the business. Like, Like you can love your kids, and then some days you're like, oh God, I just want to run away. Like everything that you do, you still have the passion for it, but there's just some days you're just like, but you have to maintain the balance and understand that that's not the everyday and that's not the center goal of what your career is. That's just part of it.
So when we come back, I want to talk about mentorship. That seems to come up a lot on Empowered. A lot of women who are entrepreneurs, up and coming. There's mentorship, and there's different organizations and stuff. So when we come back, I want to talk about mentorship, and then I want to talk about the elephant in the room. You are a chef to the stars, so let's talk about that as well. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. On today's episode, we're discussing being a Black female-owned business and keeping your passion. And I'm joined by La-toya Fagon, an executive chef, a celebrity chef, and owner of Twist Catering Services. Okay, La-toya, I've called you a celebrity chef a few times. Can you talk a little bit about it? And in the introduction, we talked about the Raptors. So please enlighten
Mm.
us.
Yeah, it was really an amazing opportunity that I got very random. Like when I tell this story, a friend of mine was asking, he's like, "Hey, do you ever make meals?" So we were starting to do meal deals back in the day. And he's like, "Hey, do you ever do personalized meals for athletes?" And I said, "Yeah, we can. Like we can talk about their macros and whatnot and what their plans are, whatnot." He's like, "Yeah, well, I have a trainer. He's looking for somebody to help out with some of his athletes." I said, "No problem." Emailed the guy. He gave me the address to go down to meet him and to discuss. And I'm walking down and I'm walking on Bay Street, and then the address pops up, and I'm like, "This is the Air Canada Center." That's literally how that started. I was like, "No." So I called the guy, and it turned out to be Alex McKenzie, who's the director of sports science with them. And he came out and like brought me in, and I was like having little seizures in my head. I'm like, "No way. I'm about to go into the Raptors locker room." I'm like, "No way." And that's kind of how that started. And yeah, so we got 4 seasons with them. I wasn't with every single player, so I was assigned to different players. So in each season, the players that I would be with would change.
That's
Um,
amazing. Good
yeah,
for you. Kudos to you. That's
yeah.
awesome.
yeah.
So,
So that was really good. And then I was the executive chef for the Sundance Film Festivals for 1 season. So I met so many people and did so many great dinners. I remember this was a time where Lord of the Rings was just blowing up, and there was a junket for Peter Jackson and some of the stars with like Elijah Wood and all those. And if anybody knows me, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I never fangirl, but I was like, I'm gonna fangirl. And yeah, and we were making some lunches for them, and Elijah Wood was just came over and he was like, "Thank you for everything," and I was like, "I have this might be unprofessional, but you need to take a picture of me because nobody's gonna believe I met Frodo." Um, so we did that. Had a nice dinner with Anthony Mackie. There's a great picture when I was serving Helen Hunt, and William H. Macy, who's also one of my favorite actors. And like yeah, I've been like super blessed to just cross paths with different people. Then here, obviously, when you do TIFF, you see everybody.
Mhm.
So yeah,
That's amazing. Good for you. Okay, I want to go forward now and talk about mentorship. What role
yeah,
do you think mentorship plays in the success of female entrepreneurs?
I think it's huge. I think that if I had had maybe more mentors, or if I probably would have even been further in my career. But there's also some people that I did meet through my career, like David Lockett with the PAC program, which helps at-risk youth to learn different skills. And I was teaching cooking classes with them for years. And David was also mentoring me. And even now, he and I are still amazing friends. And I'm actually going to see him tomorrow. And he'll still be like, "Hey, how's business going? This is what you can do. This is what you try and do this." Like, he's always trying to help me with that. I think, though, for female entrepreneurs, I think it's great to have another powerful female to have the mentorship, just so you guys can exchange the hardships and the things that you're going through and they can more understand. and then they can help you guide you in a proper direction. But I think especially for our youth and coming up, 'cause I do believe that entrepreneurship is going to be like the new like career. I think you're going to see a lot more of that, especially with social media, which you can already see it now with the term influencers and creative content directors and things of that nature. So I definitely think if you have any form of leverage and you can put a little bit of time into giving back, that's a huge, huge thing. And that can make such a difference in somebody that's coming up's life. And even peer mentorship. I have other girlfriends who have their own businesses and will bounce stuff back or off each other. How are you doing with the climate right now? How are you doing with the cost of things right now? Hydro and fridge. Like, are you taking from someplace? Like, how do you manage it? Where do you cut back? Where can you add on? So
La-toya,
yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
sorry. We've run out of time. Thank you so
Okay.
much for being on Empowered today. You have been incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
La-toya loves everything about food, the smells, the flavors, the taste, the combining them all together. She's also a woman full of passion in life. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm here to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Bye for now.